Hey all, I'm John Avlon. This is How to Fix It. But before we dive into our interview with Chris Hughes, co-founder of Facebook, calling out, saying that Section 230 should be kicked out, I want to dig into something that's firing me up and should get everybody fired up today, which is the legalization of corruption under the Trump administration. We're seeing this on every level, and it's a connect the dots moment, but it's worth paying attention to because I do believe that it's going to be the chaos and the cruelty, but the corruption that needs to be where our focus is because it affects everyday folks' lives. It's not right. It's not just by definition. And they're really removing all the guardrails right now. In New York, we've seen the mayor of New York, Eric Adams, a acting U.S. attorney resigned the other day under protest because the administration told her to back off the ongoing prosecution of Mayor Adams on 5 counts of corruption. She said explicitly, and she's, by the way, is a Republican member of the Federal Society. It's not a Democrat-Republican thing. She said that it was a quid pro quo, that the mayor asked to have his charges taken off the table in exchange for promoting and empowering President Trump policies. That's an assault on the rule of law. But it's not only that. Cory Booker had a list of some of the actions being taken that you might not be paying attention to. Trump firing the head of government ethics. That's the person in charge of preventing conflicts of interest. That person, gone. It's a 5-year term, gone. Right? Stopping the enforcement of the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. That's the law that makes American companies, not engage in corruption. And Trump apparently thinks that that's bad for business, which should tell you everything you need to know. Getting rid of executive orders that stop political appointees from accepting gifts from lobbyists. These are all just the top line stuff you're not even paying attention to necessarily, certainly not in coordination. And then there's the Republicans rolling over for these cabinet nominees who, by any objective definition, would be seen as unqualified. There's the efforts to gut any organizations that promote democracy from around the world, things that Republicans have traditionally supported, but now they've abandoned as Trump gets ready to do a deal with Putin for the fate of Ukraine, which reminds me of when the Trump administration first incarnation negotiated exclusively with the Taliban over Afghanistan. This corruption is serious business. It should offend anybody who's not operating from primarily a partisan perspective. And it illustrates the sort of low-level danger, the normalization of things that are necessary to keep democratic, lowercase d, democratic guardrails in place. But this is all sort of part of the stakes at a time when we're seeing a lot of the tech oligarchs line up to support the administration and having their algorithms do a lot of the dirty work, changing our discourse, getting in the way of us reasoning together. That helps normalize these actions because you might not hear about them if you don't have to bump into them in your feed, and you're not going to bump into them in your feed if it's not what's being prioritized. So it's important you connect the dots. Look at what's actually happening. See what's happening before our face because it's our country. It's our democracy. And it depends on having guardrails to stop corruption. This isn't just a common civic responsibility. But there are things we can do, and that's the focus of our podcast. We want to focus on how to fix it. We want to focus on solutions to the problems. We can talk about the problems. It's important to connect the dots, but it's more empowering to talk about what we can do, to think about what we can do. That creates empowered citizens. And my guest this week, Chris Hughes, is a co-founder of Facebook, who says it is past time to ditch Section 230, something that's had bipartisan support in the past. Ditching Section 230 would change the incentive structure for a lot of these companies to stop elevating the most confrontational and conspiracy theorist voices. It would empower the moderate majority to begin reasoning together again. And that's the kind of action I think we can all get behind.